Welcome to Blue Nile. We hope you are enjoying solving past questions with us. Let's take a look at a big question. We are going to look at a question called Chestmut & Co. This is question 3 from the June 2015 exam and is for 10 marks. This question covers misstatements, audit procedures, subsequent events, and audit reports. Remember, when planning your answers in the exam, to remember to allocate 1.8 minutes for every mark. This question should take you no more than 18 minutes. To successfully complete this question, you will need to plan your answer, taking care with the time allocated to each part of the question. Use the scenario where needed, and have clear and efficient communication. It may be worth pausing the video at this point and printing off the exam question. That way you can follow the scenario as we talk through it. Let's break down the requirements. The scenario contains 2 clients with 2 separate issues. These are called palm industries and ash trading. There are 3 requirements, which require the scenario information to be answered. For each of the clients, the requirements are: Part 1, discuss the issue, including an assessment of whether it is material. Part 2, recommend one procedure the audit team should undertake to try and resolve the issue. And Part 3, describe the impact on the audit report if the issue remains unresolved. The whole question is for 10 marks, and it states that the marks will be split equally between each of the 2 issues. So for palm industries and ash trading, 5 marks each will be allocated. The marks are not, however, allocated between each requirement, so some planning is needed in where to allocate the 5 marks. As it only asks for one procedure in Part 2, we should assume only 1 mark will be awarded in this part. Therefore, it would be sensible to allocate 2 marks for Part 1 and 2 marks for Part 3 for each client. We should be able to get 2 marks for Part 1 by explaining why the situation is an issue and calculating materiality. We should also be able to get 2 marks in Part 3 by explaining what type of audit report is to be prepared and explain how the wording within the report now differs. When planning the approach to this question, it would also be recommended to concentrate on one client at a time. Therefore, clearly label which clients you are answering and which requirements you are answering. The question should take you no more than 18 minutes. Therefore, each client being 5 marks each should be allocated 9 minutes each. Let us now look at the first client and structure our answer. Palm Industries is a client of Chestmut. The scenario tells us that a customer on their receivables ledger owes $350,000 at the year end, but no amounts have been paid for some time due to a dispute. There has been no allowance for receivables included in the financial statements. For Part 1, we must discuss the issue. To generate marks, you should always calculate whether the issue is material to the users of the financial statements. You can then explain the correct accounting treatment or the impact the issue has on the financial statements. For Palm Industries, customer balance equates to 1.2% of revenue, 6.3% of receivables, and 7.3% of profit. Comparing these amounts to the materiality guidelines, the balance is material to the users. The correct accounting treatment in this situation would be to include an allowance for receivables of $350,000. This would reduce the receivables balance and reduce profit. This is in line with IAS 10, which states that a material event, where the condition existed at the year end, should be adjusted for in the financial statements. If the amendment is not made, then receivables and profit are both overstated. In Part 2, we have to recommend one procedure the audit team should undertake to resolve the issue. The audit team would need to establish whether this customer is a potential bad debt. They should inspect post-year-end bank statements to establish whether there have been any payments made by the customer. They could also inspect customer correspondence for further evidence regarding the customer's ability to pay. And they should also discuss the issue with Palm Industries management to establish if the dispute and the quality of goods have now been resolved. Either of these procedures would gain a mark in the exam, and therefore one of these should be included. Part 3 then requires a description of the impact on the audit report if the issue remains unresolved. The question states that the audit report extracts will not be required. You just have to show your understanding of how the wording will be affected by Palm Industries' issue. In this case, the audit report would be modified due to a material misstatement in the financial statements. The matter is material and not pervasive, and therefore they should include an except for opinion in the audit report. The basis for opinion paragraph underneath the opinion should explain the material misstatement and the impact it has on the financial statements. Now we must answer the requirements for Ash Trading. Ash Trading is a new client that they have accepted after the client's year-end. They have therefore not attended the year-end inventory count, and the previous auditors were also not able to attend. For Part 1, we must discuss the issue. The main issue with this situation is that the auditors will be unable to gather sufficient appropriate evidence on the existence of inventory. As they cannot turn back time, there is going to be a lack of evidence with this assertion. In terms of materiality, the inventory balance is 21.3% of profit and 5% of revenue, which makes it material to the uses of the financial statements. For Part 2, we must recommend one audit procedure. The auditors should inspect the inventory count records from the year-end count. They can then establish whether the controls appeared to be sufficient and whether any issues flagged by the count team were actually followed up. They could also sample check inventory items to the inventory records. They would also need to review the movements for these items by inspecting the goods dispatch notes and the goods receive notes and reconciling back to the year-end date. Part 3 requires the description of the impact on the audit report. As the auditors cannot be satisfied with the existence of inventory at the year-end, they will need to modify the audit report due to a lack of sufficient appropriate evidence. The matter is material but not pervasive. The size of the balance as a whole is material, but not significant enough to be deemed pervasive. The audit opinion should therefore include an except for opinion. And the basis for opinion section underneath the opinion should include an explanation of the situation and the impact it has on the financial statements. With both clients now answered and clearly labeled with reference to the question numbers, we are now complete. Please remember to be successful in this carpool question. We need to plan the approach and ensure we have identified how long is needed for each part. Use headings to introduce your answers, reference to the question you are attempting, and space out your points, so it is clear for the marker where the marks can be allocated. Finally, if there is a scenario, use it. This information was given to you for a reason, and at F8 they are trying to see if you can apply your knowledge to a given scenario and not just be able to remember the facts. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you and good luck.